Good evening. There won't be anyone here yet because there's always a delay between me and YouTube. Are we live? Why are you laughing at me? I mean, laughed at in the office. Sorry for the coughing. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I can see there's a little number of people. So hello to those of you that are here. Hello, hello. Hello, Florence. Who else is here? Tell me you're here. Oh my God. I need to get rid of this little frog. It seems to have sprung. Hello, Mary. Good stuff. So you can see me and you can hear me. So we'll give it another little minute. The little stragglers can arrive. While we're waiting for the stragglers, those of you that are here so far, tell me how you've found today. You've been doing your investment action plans today. It should look like this. Or if you've done it online, then it'll be online. How have you found it? How have you found today's task? Have you finished it? Has it given you some direction? How are you feeling about that direction? Tell me how it's been. Hello, Shireen. How are you doing? If you're here, say hello. We're waiting for all the stragglers to come in. I've got a busy office tonight. There's more than just me and Shamila in the office today. My business partner's here as well. Hello, Amanda. How you doing? Hi. So is it the link for the challenge that you say you've done the homework and done the money mechanics challenge? Wasn't sure. I'm not sure what you mean. So the homework is, well, it's not really homework, it's day work, right? But the action plan, just put the blinds down. Emma's trying to put the blinds down like silently. And it's taking ages. It's quite funny. So you've had a good day, folks. Excellent stuff. So we're basically going to be bringing it all together tonight, right? So this is it's Friday night. It's challenge week. We're having loads of fun tonight. Hopefully you guys have got yourselves something fizzy to drink. I have. Sadly, it's not in a champagne glass or like champagne, but it's still fizzy, so we'll take it. Tonight, it's all about bringing it all together and starting to really decide on what actions you are going to take so that you can activate the change that you want to see happen in your world, right? So, again, I want to ask you a couple of questions, first of all. So tonight's a little bit more interaction, people. I'm going to need you to comment on the comments when I ask you, because it helps me to just make sure we work through this properly and I can make sure we answer any questions that we've got. Tonight's just about cementing everything. So if you've got questions, ponderings, if you're not sure on something, if you haven't been able to make decisions on something, tonight's the night that we've got the opportunity to pick my brains on whatever you want. So what's changed this week for you? This is my first question to you. What has changed this week? Have you learned something about yourself you didn't realize? Have you learned about your financial habits, maybe? Has there been an aha moment, a realization maybe of something? Maybe you, I mean, I know some of you have because you've WhatsApped me about it, but some of you have said, actually, I didn't realize that I was spending quite so much money on this thing and I probably could be doing it differently and spending less. Tell me what's changed for you this week in the comments. So Shireen's saying there's lots of top takeaways. What are they? Tell me what has changed. What has been your realizations this week? I'm going to keep drinking this water because apparently my throat's trying to tell me that it wants to give up on me. That's no good. So in the chat, tell me what's been your biggest aha moments, your takeaways, what's changed for you in the way that you're approaching what you have learned this week. Come on. There must be something. You're being too shy. Share the knowledge. This is good. Really thinking before you buy things. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think as well, when you're looking at the decisions around buying things, we talked about pots on, I think it was Tuesday, and, you know, determining where the money will come from in terms of the things that you're going to buy. So, you know, having a pot that's for investing, having a pot that's for personal development, having a pot that's your emergency fund, having a pot that's saving for a wedding, a holiday, a car, a whatever the thing is, having your fuck around fund. That's what mine's called. Whatever yours is called will be called. You know, having these layers in your money that will just to help you to know that you can spend the money. I think what we also have to make sure we're doing is thinking like investors. Yeah. We have to remember that in order to put your money to work, you have to actually do something with it. You can't just keep it and expect for it to grow, right? Yes, with investment, there comes risk and the associated risk with the volatility of the markets and all of those sorts of things. But when you start to think like an investor, and you really look at things and you think, do you know what? There's this £10 or there's this £50 or there's this £300 or whatever it is. Is the use of this money in that place going to give me the opportunity to develop and put that money to work? Am I going to get something from it? Right? So, you know, I know for a lot of you, you're sitting considering, should you buy a ticket to Money Mechanics Live? And the answer to that is, you know, you found out about it today or this week. It's an unexpected thing that you didn't have necessarily in your plan. And you want to come, you can see the value in it, but you're thinking to yourself, well, should I do that? Because actually there's not a defined pot for it. Now, the answer to that question, obviously only you can answer. I know that the value's there. I know that when you've come from Bootcamp, which is what you're doing this week, and you move, this is the basics, right? And then Money Mechanics Live helps you to decide the right direction and route for your money. Without that bit of information, you're not going to be able to choose well. So again, it's like thinking like an investor. If I invest this money, the £98.33 3 times, obviously, opt for the payment plan. That's definitely a thing that you should do. If I do that, is it going to give me the answers I need to be able to get to the next thing? And the answer to that is yes. It's why we have a money back guarantee, because if you leave on the day and you think, actually, I still don't have a clue what she's on about, then you just tell me and we'll give you your money back, because I'm certain that at the point that you leave that event, you'll feel more clear of what route you should take, you know. And in your action plan today, on page 2 of this, in step 4, hopefully you guys have seen it, you know, it's broken down: index funds, ETFs, bonds, stocks. And we talked a little bit about these different things yesterday. And I said, you know, on Friday, you'll have a bit more meat around the bones. Art, whiskey, crypto, all the different options. But how do you actually choose? That's the thing you've got. That's like the missing link. Like that's the bit we've got to work on. And I can't teach that in an hour on Zoom or YouTube. It takes me the day to give you that direction. So when you start to think like an investor, you really start to think, okay, is the use of this money the right use of this money? Is it likely to, am I putting money to work for me in a way that's going to benefit me? Or am I using this money in a way that's like pissing it up the wall, right? So there's a difference between investing in stocks and shares, investing in education, investing in personal development, investing in something that's going to add value versus spending money on a liability that's going to cost you money. You know, going and spending money, impulse buying at Aldi's, you go for milk and you spend 40 quid. Yeah, so that, you're right. It's important that we become more aware of how we are spending. And we have to remember that to make those choices between those things and use our money in a way that's actually determined, like it's moving towards a determined outcome. Does that make sense? So good. Thank you, Florence, for sharing that. Kicked my ass into saving small and often. Consistency. So this is really, really cool. One of the things I wrote down here is Remind them to remember that small, consistent habits are the best way to activate change. 100%. If you can do this consistently, you know, anyone can come out the gate swinging and be like, right, today I'm going to do loads of stuff and I'm going to, you know, this month I'm going to not spend any money. I'm going to save this much money and I'm going to put it all here and it's great. Then next month you kind of fizzle out a bit and the next month it's forgotten. That pattern is what most people do. The consistency, the discipline, the automation is going to really help you to stay involved with this process consistently. So I'm pleased that we've kicked your ass a little bit into saving small and often. But I also think, Mary, there's a layer to this about saving and investing small and often. So let's say if you're saving, I don't know, £25 a month, maybe it's a consideration to think, well, I'm going to save 20. So I'm going to save £12.50 and I'm going to invest £12.50. So that you're benefiting from both layers. You're building that pot and you're starting to see and feel and move around in the markets so that you can experience it and learn it and develop your understanding. So brilliant. The budget planner has been really helpful. Got me motivated to really look at our spending and recognize impulse buying. Brilliant. So the budget tracker, for those of you on VIP, we obviously went through that in a lot of detail. The budget tracker is something that you guys can get on our website, which if I just put this link up for you, hold on. There you are. If you go to that link, basically that will give you the money mechanics budget tracker. So you'll all have different budget formats and that's fine. If you're somebody that's not really a spreadsheets person and you're trying to like figure out how to create a budget tracker and how to actually do your monthly checks on your money and to look whether or not you can afford the things that you're trying to buy, then that is going to give you that tool. You'll be able to download it and just use our version that we created. It's £10 plus VAT, but if you want to make use of that, you absolutely can. So I'm pleased that that worked for you, Amanda. Good job. I'd agree. It's about keeping an audit of your spending. Yeah, for sure. Clarifying where I want to invest. So Amanda, this is brilliant. And I think when you start to look at the breakdown of all of these things that I've talked about in step 4 today, you can start to think, okay, what is my outcome? What's the root outcome that I'm looking for? Is it that I'm looking for passive income, i.e. dividends? Is it that I'm looking for really low risk, in which case bonds, funds? Am I looking for diversification, index funds? Each of the different outcomes that you are looking for will lead its way to the most logical place to invest. And this is why we get into it so deep at Money Mechanics Live, is that unless you know how to travel that, like navigate that route while you're beginning, actually you can make mistakes and put your money in the wrong place. And that's not what we want, right? So good stuff. Putting a little bit of money into investment. Good. Well done. Ray, reframe my mindset using the £20 reduction in direct debit for gas bill and put it into an emergency fund. Brilliant. That's great news. So my husband is not a direct debit utilities person. He actually does the meter readings every month and pays it. I find that so weird. That for me is just not sustainable. I'm an automation girl, but adjusts the payment every single month so that it's absolutely on point. And that way it means that we're not overpaying, we're not in credit, we're not in debit ever. It's just as it should be. So, you know, those adjustments, it's a tiny adjustment, but actually a significant adjustment over a period of time. So Ray, well done on that. What else have we got in here? Here we are. If I'd built up an emergency fund, I wouldn't have had to just put £758 on my credit card for a new clutch and a starter motor. So cars often are our emergency fund suckers, if that's a thing. I've definitely just used mine recently for some car-based activity. But if it's there, it's there. So it's good that you've started to recognize that building that up is going to be really, really helpful for you. What else have we got here? Let's have a look. I find graphs and trends help, but I'm looking forward to finding out a smarter way of making informed decisions on the live event. Amazing. So you're already booked on for the live event, Mark, right? I think you are. If not, I look forward to seeing it. I think the finding smarter ways and finding more informed decisions is something that is missing for beginners. And it is, in fact, one of the scariest things. If you're frightened of investing, it's not that you're frightened of investing. You're frightened of losing money or feeling like an idiot or someone laughing at you or the outcome if you get it wrong. That's what we're frightened of. Actually, you know, and I know at a logical level that investing makes sense. Like, we know that it makes sense. But it's how to do it in an informed way so that you don't get it wrong. That's the bit that's hard for people. So yeah, you know, finding out a smarter way of making those decisions on the live event is definitely, you know, that's going to be really powerful for you. So good, exciting stuff. What else we got here? Look for some flexible hours to boost my income around business. Right. One of the things we talk about at Money Mechanics Live, and one of the things that's in the book as well, is ways you can make extra money without having to like get another job or start another business. I can't remember if it's like 8 different things that we talk about Money Mechanics Live. And it's things, I mean, I mentioned the surveys to you guys the other night. Renting out your parking space is one of them. That, you know, Emma and I are going to London on Monday and we've rented a parking space in someone's driveway outside their house for the day so that we can park a car. We haven't got to faff around trying to find a parking space. We can just drive straight into their driveway and leave. What if we paid for that? A tenner, right? So it's cost us a tenner. I'm happy to throw a tenner at convenience, right? But actually that person, if they do it every day, let's say they did it 5 days a week. They've got 4 spaces on this particular driveway. I've just been informed. So let's say £10 a day times by 5 days a week times by 4 spaces times by 52 weeks in a year. That's £10,400 a year that they're making off renting out their driveway that they're not using. They're probably out of work themselves, right? Let's say they only did half of that. It's still 5 and a bit grand for nothing, renting out air space, right? There are ways that we can make money that we just haven't thought of. And again, this is one of the things we talk about Money Mechanics Live. We dig into, okay, if you're not stabilized income yet, how do you do it? Now, some of you that are coming to Money Mechanics Live, you've stabilized your income, but it never hurts to have some extra, right? So we talk about that. But these are the things that are going to make a big difference. 10.5 grand is a lot of money, actually. I might start renting out my space. I haven't got 4 and I'm nowhere near a train station. So it's probably not quite as, I probably wouldn't get as much money for it. But, you know, these are all things to consider. Yeah. I should maybe ask my nan if I can rent out her space. That would be a good idea because she's got a house in a place that where people would commute, right? Okay, what else have we got on here? Let me have a little look. Shireen set up a free trade account. Well done. Happy days. I build it pots every month for Christmas and car insurance and also towards free trade. Good job. Shireen's got a fun money account. Happy days. Bond Street smash up account. I think that's the best account I've ever had. We went to Bond Street and we blew loads of money, all of us. It was great. What have we got here? I'd really like to grow a dividend growth so that I steer towards a steady stream of return income. Yeah, so like we talked about yesterday, dividends are a really good way to earn regular income. And what you can do in the way that you choose, when you choose where you put your money, there's patterns of payment. So all the companies that pay dividends will pay on a regular pattern. So actually, if you look when you're choosing your stocks, if you want to do it like this and you want to have that like monthly income, well, what you need to do is find companies that pay out on all of the different months of the year. So, you know, if you've got a company that pays out in January, they'll also pay out in April. Yeah. And they'll also pay out in July. And so that's the quarterly. So then you need to find some companies that pay out in February. So you also get an income in February and also May. My brain's not calculating this. And also August. And then you also need companies that pay out in March. So they pay out in June and they pay out in September and so on, right? Because if you do that, every single month you'll have an income. So you can work your calendar so that you have this steady stream of income. Now, obviously you have to build up the pot for it to be money you can actually live on and enough for you to actually live on. But if you reinvest it back in, that's going to give you a really good starting point and it will give you that consistent uplift in your wealth every single month. What else have we got going on here? What's this? I started £50, gradually gained confidence. Happy days. We love that. Discovered how a save isn't currently working, turned it on its head, and now putting the money away at the start of the month. Great. The more you can automate that, Shireen, the better. And obviously, we'll see you at Money Mechanics Live. So, I've seen your ticket come in. Your name's on the wall. So, yeah, we'll talk more about the techniques that sit behind how you can just improve that as well. Saved £100 by not spending on impulse buys that I don't need. We love this. Is that this week? Hold on, clarify. Have we just saved £100 by just not blowing money this week on crap we don't need? That's good, isn't it? We'd take that. So we've had a good week by all accounts, is what we're saying. There's been a good week, lots of learnings. So I want to ask you a question just off the back of actually what Shireen just put here. If you had to put a pounds and pence value on it based on your financial snapshot, what you've recognized, any subscriptions that you've cancelled, any impulse spending that you're now aware of and not going to replicate, how much money per month do you think that you have saved because of studying this challenge this week? Give me a number. Is it a tenner? Is it 100? How much money do you think you saved just from not invested, not earned, but just purely saved from approaching your money from a money mechanics perspective? Let's get some figures up on the board. I love this. Trainers and USB sockets. Happy days. How much money do you think you've saved by just looking at actually your money? Tell me some figures. You've subscriptions that you've cancelled. You know, maybe it would have been like a subscription, an annual subscription, like whatever you've saved. How much money? Let's get some figures in the comments. Is it a tenner? Is it 100? What do you think it is? Give me some ideas. So hold on. Ali's saved £320 a month. That's a lot of money, man. That's loads of money.
It's like a car.
That's like a car. What's this little note? My live testimony. Ah, okay, cool. Thanks. That's super helpful. Thank you. I just got this little secret note issued to me very quietly from the team. They're also like quiet, and then I just blow the cover and speak. So, Ali, you have saved £320 a month. That's incredible. Well done. Shireen, £158.99 a month. That's amazing. Around £140 for Mark. Look at this. This is super cool. Florence saved £150. That's amazing. That's 2/3 of your ticket to Money Mechanics Live there, Florence. Ray, £20 from this week, but nearer to £100 since I read your book a couple of months ago. Amazing. We love this. £75 on shopping and snacks. So most of you have saved your first installment of your Money Mechanics ticket, at least this week, which is exceptional. Ali's leading the pack over here with £320 a month. Happy days. Well done. Congratulations to all of you. This is super cool. I love this. This is actually quite simple, the work that you've done this week. It's just that most people aren't doing this. And if you regularly check your subscriptions, if you regularly, make sure that those things are still being used, then you can't really help but win, actually. So brilliant. That's a lot of money saved. I mean, it's definitely over £1,000 there if I add it all together, pretty sure, a month. We love that. Well, maybe just under. Almost, let's say. My maths can't be that quick. So I'm just going to round up because that's what I do. I was laughing because I round up on everything. Okay, so we've saved loads of money. That's excellent. We're feeling like we're making progress. This is also excellent. Well done. What I want to do is now just talk a little bit about those consistent habits and how we can redirect that money a little bit better, right? So what we have to do is to remember that we've made those changes for a reason. We've made those changes because we want to get back in control. We want to have a pot to save / invest. We want to start making changes in various different aspects of our financial world. So what's really important is that you've got to redirect that money to something, because you were going to spend it anyway, right? Had you not looked, you would have spent that money because you probably would have forgotten to check. So now what we've got to do is we've got to be very proactive in the way that we utilize that money. Otherwise, what happens is that it just dwindles into other things without us really knowing what's happened to it. I don't know about you, but so I moved £1,000 in my bank account the other day, and it was for a particular thing. And then that particular thing didn't happen, but I didn't move the money back out of my account. And then like 10 days later, I was looking at my account, I was like, where's my £1,000? Like what's happened to it? Where's it gone? And by the time I looked at it, I was like, oh, there's like some money in Audi, there's this, there's that, and there's all this. And I'm like, I've spent nearly £1,000 on shit because I didn't redirect the money where it was supposed to go. Your money needs a purpose, right? It needs to have a thing. So like label it, give it a job, make sure you know what it's for. So if you've saved £320 a month, sit and think, right, £100 a month, I'm going to do this with it. £100 a month, this, £100 a month, this, £20 a month, this. It's really, really, really important that we are redirecting with purpose, like being proactive with that money that we've saved. Don't just let it drift away and dwindle into other shit that you don't need. So pretend like you haven't got it, pretend like it's been spent anyway, and choose to put it into something that's going to put your money to work for you. Yeah? So what are some of the things that you've decided to do with your money? So let's talk about today's task a little bit. We've decided to take some steps forward, right? We've decided to start putting our money in certain places. So tell me, what are some of the decisions that you've made in terms of your actions? So step 5, we're talking about here in your workbooks. What do you need to do? What are you going to do? What have you already done, some of you, today? What are the decisions that we've made? Tell me in the chat. Have we decided, have we opened a free trade account today? I know one of you, I can't remember who said it now. Shireen said it. You've already done it. Happy days. Well done. But now what? What are the decisions that we've made that we're going to actually activate change on this? Build a fuck you money fund. Love it. Have you decided how much of it you want to build? Like how big it is? What's the number? We've talked about the formula to get to this. I'm pretty sure, Mark, you have read the book, so you should have a formula anyway. £50 a week to free trade. Great. Very specific. And Jason, if you, once it's in free trade, have you decided what you're going to do to distribute it out? Because £50 into free trade is one thing, brilliant action. Once it's there, it's still not been put to work. It still needs to be put to work at that point. So where are you going to do it? Are you going to do 10% to dividends, 10% to funds, 10% to something? Like, are you going to put all of it into something? You know, an S&P 500 share is £93-ish. I haven't looked at the market today, actually, but it was, I think it was 92.83 yesterday. So you'd need to wait 2 weeks to be able to buy one of those shares. So thinking about that stuff, what is the consistent action that you can do? Bring it back to real specifics. So remember we talked, the day before yesterday? When did we do money framework? I can't remember. It's been a long week. So what we talked about in the money framework is making sure it's measurable, optimized for your financial situation, noticing aligned with your spending habits, emotionally connected for you and what the outcome is that you're looking for, and making sure it works for your timeline, right? So when you're thinking about, okay, £50 per week into free trade, then what? How do we specifically like strip it out so that you've got a real direction? What else we got here? I need to refresh my memory. So Mark, it's in chapter, one moment. Let me consult my little book and I'll be able to tell you where to go to get it. So it is in chapter 10 of the book. So it's like page 186, I think. Yeah, chapter 10. So you'll be able to find that out. Basically, you want to work out what your fuck you money number is. Once you've done the formula to work that out, then you need to get that amount of money invested at a minimum of 4% a year, and you will always have enough money. You won't outlive your money, basically, which is a very important detail as well. What else have we got in terms of actions planned? Invest in dividend stocks, go through all my bank accounts monthly and redirect that money into an emergency fund. Great. So we do a process called month end. Anyone who's like followed me in the property space, and where in our property education company, Cogito, we talk about this a lot. Month end is like a thing that we do every month end. So today is the last, something stuck to me. Here you go, got it. I could see it in the corner of my eye. It was really irritating me. So today is the last day of the month, right? What we will do on the last day of the month typically is we will look at our accounts. We look at incoming, we look at outgoing, we look at spending that probably we didn't need to spend really. But we also look at kind of did we get to where we wanted to be based on what we said we would do last month? So month end's a really good activity. Check your receipts if you're a business owner, get your expenses in, do your mileage, all the things that if you're a business owner we have to do. Pay your expenses, pay your mileage, pay your wages, all that sort of stuff. Do your payroll for your team if you need to do that. You know, make sure that you're doing all of those things on the last day of the month so everybody's where they need to be. But for those of you who don't have businesses, doing a personal month end is a brilliant idea as well. Update your budget tracker, have a look at whether or not the goals are still aligned. Have you managed to buy the thing that you set, which means you need new goals? I think if you can do that month end task in your real life as well as a business life, it will really help. So I definitely think that that's a good idea. What else have we got over here? My voice is trying to give up on me. We're not doing that. I've done this one. Where are we? Here we are. Yeah, we've done Amanda's Happy Days. Fairly random so far, mainly ETFs or safe stocks. Fair enough. So pretty defensive, Jason, which is good. There's a formula for getting to fuck you money. There is a formula. There absolutely is. It's written in the book. If you want a copy of the book is on Amazon, Money Mechanics. You can just go and look it up on Amazon. Or if you want to get a signed copy from the office that's less than what it is on Amazon, then the link is up on the screen now. If you're more of an audio person, by the way, and actually you'd rather like listen to a book in a car rather than read it, then you can get that on Amazon. Or if you prefer like a podcast type vibe, there's a podcast on Spotify and on Apple. So you can get all of the same information really, but in different formats, depending on what's better for you as a listener / reader. Florence, looking where to invest. You've started looking at where to. Brilliant. It's just that how-to for you. I think the how-to is the thing that we really want to focus on. And Florence and I have been chatting on WhatsApp today. I started last week, £50, then £50 last Friday, and this iShares S&P 500, Tesco's and iShares. Brilliant. Like that. What else we got going on? Starting Fuck You Money Fund. There's quite a few of you getting towards this, which is great. Jason's book arrived today. Great. We like that. Okie dokie. So you've all done some decision making, which is really good to see. Well done. I think as well, you know, what I'm asking you to do this week is pretty intense. We're at the last point in a 5-day window where, you know, I've asked you to look at some pretty deep stuff. Some of it a bit emotional, some of it a bit, you know, rip off the plaster type situation. Like we need to be aware of what's happening. But now we've got to the end of the week and we've started to really pin down what it is we're going to do about what we've learned. We're in a position where actually the ambition that I set at the beginning of this week was to help you feel more confident. So let me ask you, do you feel more confident that, you know, you're not a finished article? You're not meant to be, by the way, after 5 days of like an hour's sessions. But do you feel more confident than you did at the start of the week about being in control of where your money is, where it's going and what to do with it? And also that you now got this better understanding of the different routes that you could follow to be able to start putting your money to work properly. Do you feel more confident? Tell me in the chat. Yes, I love this. Happy days. This is my sole purpose this week, is to make sure that when I ask this question on Friday, that the answers that we get are yeses. So I'm happy about that. That makes me super happy. So where we are right now, then, we're starting to think like investors. Now, you may have invested before, you might have invested in other things before, but right now, what we're really focusing on is starting to really think like an investor. Long term, which we're thinking, we're not trying to time the market. We're trying to make sure that we are in the market, taking advantage of compound interest and the movement that is there. We're trying to make sure that we're taking advantage of time that's available to us. So brilliant. We've got yeses, we've got definitely, happy days. Can you tell us a bit about how capital gains tax affects shares? Is it automatically deducted when you take out a free trade? So we dig into this a bit more deeply at Money Mechanics Live. I obviously can't give you tax advice. I'm not a tax advisor. I hate tax. It's not something that I understand fully. I just feel like I pay too much, I think, like most people. So the answer to this is you should probably get your tax advice. You will need to pay tax on income in the UK. If obviously your investments are in a UK company or a UK entity, then you will need to pay tax on them as per the UK law at the time. The way that you buy your shares and whether they are in ISAs, companies, trusts, these sorts of things will be determined by what your tax position is. So I would definitely have a conversation with a tax person or somebody that can estate plan for you. You know, mine, we're in the process of just moving all of my assets into a trust, but that's not right for everybody. So it's a very personal thing for you, Mark. So I'd say I can't really tell you what your tax position will be. What I can tell you with the free trade app is that if there is a fee / tax that needs to be paid for a transaction, usually free trade will just extract it for you, which is why you need to upload all your tax information at the start. And what's also good is on free trade, they'll send you a monthly statement of what's happened in your account, which is HMRC compliant, and they'll send you an annual statement. And I just download that and I just send it to my accountants, and they just they put it in the right boxes. So I don't really get too involved in that. Obviously, I understand that I have to pay tax on what I earn. We try to be as tax efficient as possible, but we are always putting our money in the most intelligent place. So, you know, ISAs are a wrapper that I use. We max out our ISAs as best we can. We make sure we're utilizing those layers. And then after that, if it's genuine, you know, if there's other income outside of that, then we just declare it as we need to. I've just been used to being PAYE. So, you know, the idea on this, I would say have a conversation with an accountant who understands this from an investment perspective. Lots of accountants will do like a free initial inquiry, and you might say to them, look, I'm going to earn like £3 in dividends this year, in which case they probably say to you, it'd be negligible, you don't really need to action too much. If your plan is to go and put £150,000 into the markets and actually earn an income from it that's substantial, then they might give you a different answer. They might say to you, well, buy the shares in a trust or buy the shares in a company, or, you know, whatever. You need to get tax advice on that yourself, though. If you want an introduction to an accountant that can give that sort of advice, email the office and I'll happily make the introduction. It's just not advice I can give you, if that makes sense. UK and US, good stuff. Anyone else got any questions on any of that? You're very welcome, Mark. No problemo. You've got the email address for the office, right? It's learn@cogito-wealth.co.uk. It's a slightly different domain because it's our central head office, but hopefully you've got if you've not got it, I'm certain you'll have had an email from us with your ticket on. So just let me know on that. Okie dokie. So what else have I got on here? Thinking like an investor. Do you know what? One of the most frightening things that I did at the beginning when I started to buy like stocks and shares and funds is I just had no idea what I was buying. I was just pressing the button. Genuinely, I just didn't know what I was doing. And I guess the same will be like for some of you. Some of you will be educated in this space and you'll be like, actually, I understand what a chart is and so on. But for me, I genuinely just was learning as I was doing. So to start with, we do have to think like investors, and we have to have that channeling in our brain. We've got to do something, because if we do nothing, nothing changes. So we've got to do something. But what I want to give you is like a word of caution, is that as you're starting to buy things, do the research as you're doing it. And if you're not sure what the research is, then that's why you need to be in the room on the 22nd of March, because the research in how to choose is what we focus on. This week is about we've got 4 pillars, as I said to you at the beginning of the week: stabilize income, recover from debt, prepare to invest, research, start to invest confidently, and move forwards with your wealth, right? This week that we've done is about these 2 steps. Money Mechanics Live is about these 2 steps. So it's important that you've started to get to grips with your money like you have done. But to think like an investor, we now need to think about, okay, what is it that I want out of it? Am I trying to build an income through dividends? Am I trying to create a pot for my children? Actually, in which case, should I be investing in their name versus my name? You know, are you trying to, you know, if you put £200 away at 10% a year for so many years, what does that create for you? What if it was 4%, not 10%? What happens if it was 20%, not 10%? Like, you want to have that strategy behind what you're doing, because it's only when you've got that strategy and that visibility and understanding of what it is that you are trying to achieve that you'll be able to make decisions when you're in that decision point. Yeah. So I wrote about this in the book, and I'll share it with you now. I had a fund that I put some money into. In fact, I've had 2 funds that I've put money into that I've lost all my money. So one of them, I was in Starbucks in Wellingborough, and I put the money into the account. I shut my laptop. I drove to meet Emma for lunch. I opened my laptop when I got there, and I clicked the button to show her because I was all excited. I was like, look, I've got it, I've invested in this fund, blah, blah, blah. And I opened my laptop, and I was like, it was 0. It was 0, wasn't it? It dropped right down to 0. It wasn't like some pounds. Do you remember? It was 0, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like, I think it was like a couple of pounds or something like that. But it'd gone from like just under 10 grand down to like pennies. And I was like, no, there must be a mistake. Let me just refresh it. And then I rang the fund manager, and I was like, what's happening? Because I've put this money in, and it's literally within minutes. I was in Starbucks, and it's like the restaurant behind us. So it took me maybe 8 minutes to get there. And he was like, Sarah, we just fucked it up. We didn't put a stop loss on, and we've blown the account. I was like, what the fuck do you mean? I was like, the quickest loss of £10,000 ever in my life. It was not fun. But when you think like an investor, right, you have to decide, I'm willing to risk it to be able to make the decision. Now, I knew that the risk was that I could lose it. I knew that. I hated that I lost it. I could have done so much more with that money. Really sad that I didn't have that money. But I knew going into it that I was investing, and I knew that there was risk. And so you can't be annoyed at that, because actually you're prepared for that. The problem that a lot of people have, or the trouble that people get into, is that they invest what they absolutely would destroy them to lose. And this is where scams pick up on people, right? My example was just poor risk management. They set it up wrong. They traded, the market shot, and the money got lost. I have another fund. Again, it was not quite as much money. It was about £3,000. And the guy went out one night and got drunk, and he pressed the wrong button. And instead of, I can't remember quite exactly the details. I was too cross with him. But it was either supposed to set it up so the market was going to go up, and he set it to go down, or the other way. But I lost that £3,000 as well. And, you know, those examples, they're real. There's risk attached to everything we're talking about here. And I don't want you to be under any impression that what I'm talking to you about with investment is guaranteed. It's not. It won't be. It can't be. Nothing's guaranteed in business. It's not guaranteed that you'll make money. You know, even your savings is not guaranteed. With inflation, it'll be worth less. It's likely to be worth less in the future, right? But when you think like an investor, the way we approach the decisions is to make the best possible decision that we can based on the information that we have in front of us. And we never invest what would destroy us to lose. You know, I couldn't afford to lose 10 grand. No one can afford to lose 10 grand, right? But it didn't destroy me either. So you need to know what your thresholds are for that. You need to know what your, you know, if I put money in, let's say I put £1,000 and it dropped by 50% in value, how am I likely to feel about that? Is it something that I'll be like, okay, it's annoying, that's frustrating, I feel like I want to panic sell, but I'm going to hold my nerve because I believe that the market will come back? Are you that person? If you're not, don't put your money into something that could potentially drop by 50%. Be more risk averse. Be looking at stuff that's more diversified. Be looking at things that are less risk. You know, I've got a fund that I've got some money in, and there's only ever 10% at risk at a time. So for every £1,000 that's in the fund, there's only ever £100 being traded at any one time. That's pretty good risk management. And at that, I'm willing to risk 10% of my money for the returns that offers. So what I'm saying to you guys is that starting to really think like an investor comes from this foundation that you guys have got now in terms of where's my money, what is my money, what am I doing with my money, what's my relationship with my money, how am I behaving around my money, with my money, to my money. Then once you get in control of that, actually you'll notice, as we've already started to see here, you'll have more money. £320 a month, £150 a month, £46 a month. Like, these are all real numbers that you guys have got extra, but now we've got to do something with it. Because otherwise, what was the point? We've got to choose where we're going to put it. So, you know, thinking like an investor is now a different mindset. We're not just thinking in terms of, oh God, I could lose it. We're not going to move it. We're just going to protect our money at all costs, because money's an energy. And unless you send it out to work, it's not coming back to you. If you just sit on it, it's not doing anything. And money needs to be working. That's what it wants to do, right? It's neutral, but it moves. It greases the wheels. It needs to be doing something to be able to have actual value. Money sitting still does nothing. So what you've got to decide to do in the £150 a month that you've saved, or the £100 or the 320 or whatever it is what am I going to do now with it in a really tangible way? Really think about, okay, actually, I'm going to look at buying stocks in companies that I consume. Zoom, most of you will use Zoom. Most of you will have an Apple or an iPhone. Some of you will be the weird Samsung folks that I don't understand. I can't get my head around Samsung. Although I'm totally threatening to get a Nokia 3310 because I feel like I want to come off of the internet completely in terms of my phone. That's not for now. You know, you'll all probably consume some sort of products in your house that are owned by Unilever somewhere. You'll probably all consume Google, I would have thought. You'll probably all consume Facebook, because that's how you're all here, because I don't advertise really anywhere else. You know, these are companies that you can invest in. You can invest in what you consume. And if you understand what you're consuming and you invest in those companies, that's maybe a starting point for you. It's not always a starting point, but it could be. So we've got to ask ourselves, okay, how am I going to use the money that I've saved in the best possible way that I can to make sure that I benefit from it in the best possible way? Now, for many of you, obviously, you're going to book your money mechanics ticket, which is great. And then we're going to talk about, okay, how do I choose, so that you've got that gap filled in terms of your knowledge. Some of you will already know how to do that. And listen, if you know how to choose stocks, if you know how to read financial statements, if you know how to actually decide which fund is the better fund for you, then Money Mechanics Live probably isn't for you, right? Because we're going to be digging into exactly how you do the doing. If you already know how to do the doing, then put your money into that, into your stocks. if you don't know how to do the doing, if you don't know how to assess, if you don't know how to research, if you don't know where to get the information from, if you don't know what a price per earnings ratio is, if you don't know those things, then you have to learn those things to be able to make informed decisions. And if you can't make informed decisions, you'll struggle to invest well. So the first investment you'll want to make is into your Money Mechanics live ticket, so we can fill that gap, right? So we've talked about this week the basics. You've got them down. Money Mechanics Live, we're going to obviously plan the route, where we get to, how we get to. We've got all of that down. So my last question is to you all. What is your next move? What is it that you're going to do next? So in the comments, I want you to just share with me, what's your next move off the back of this 5 days? Because let's be honest, what's the point of doing the 5 days if you've not got a very clear next move? We've got to have our next move absolutely defined in a very clear money framework based. We need it to be timelined. We need to know what it is from a tangible perspective. What is your next move? Tell me. And then we're going to open up for Q&A if anyone's got any questions whatsoever before we wrap up for the final time. So what is your next move? What's this here? I'm not sure what that invoice is. I save a small regular amount whilst that accumulates. I just focus on the fact it's money I was prepared to risk. Fair. What's going to be your next move? Put it in the comments. So move more of your savings into investments. I think that's a really good step. I think what you want to do is define what more means. Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 50%? What does that actually mean to you? Define it, then you can automate it. And when I say automate, there'll be some platforms you can't automate, like if you were going to put your dividends on what's called a DRIP, which is a dividend reinvestment plan. So let's say you earned a £10 dividend from a Coca-Cola investment, not investment advice, just an idea. What some people want to do is put their dividends on a DRIP. So it just reinvests it back into the same company so that their next quarter, your dividend might be £11 reinvested, then it might be £12 and it goes up. So you can do that. But what I think is really important is to think about how much of your savings you will put into the investments and what and how will that cycle work for you with a bit more tangible detail behind it. Check out dividend stocks. Great. Have a little look on free trade. Those of you that asked me for my free trade link, I meant to put this up earlier. That's the free trade link to my free trade account. If you scan that, you'll be able to set up your account and you'll get a free share using that link. I will also get a share, by the way, just for full transparency, but you'll get a free share between 10 and £100 value. They just pick it at random and you can start seeing how the platforms work. What else have we got going on here? Stabilize income each month. So I have an emergency fund, fuck you fund, and a percentage for investments. Brilliant. We love this. What else? There's way more of you on here than is in the comments. So what is your next move? Tell me. Maybe it's go and get a glass of wine. I think that might be my next move after this week of fun. I've had the really good fun this week. It's been really good. I've loved hanging out with you. My WhatsApps have been busy. Thank you to everyone that's been WhatsApping me this week. It's quite nice to do it on WhatsApp rather than very publicly because I get to actually get to know you at a more one-to-one level. So appreciate that. We've had lots of learnings, which is brilliant. So there's lots of next steps. And I think the thing with this is you won't have all probably finished the whole of all of the tasks. The last part on here talks about regularly reviewing and adjusting. And that's what I just want to finish up on. So when you're setting your actions and you're setting your deadlines, utilize your deadlines as a way to actually review and check back with what you said you would do. We all know that if there's no accountability in our lives, that we generally don't do the things that we said we were going to do. Now, it could be accountability with a partner, with a friend, with communities like us, however it works for you. But have some sort of regular check-in. So month end is a really good idea. It gives you the ability to review your contributions that you've put into your accounts, review what you've earned. Did you manage to rent out your parking space for 10 days this month? In which case you've got a random £100 that you weren't expecting. What did you do that is working so that you can continue to do it? But also, what did you do this month that didn't work? So, for example, if you're somebody who, I had a guy who missed last night's because he was out drinking, and I had a call with him today and he had a big headache. I don't know if you're on here or not, but I won't name you. But, when we're thinking about, is this working for me? Actually, if you're like I was back in 2015, I would buy festival tickets and I would go to a festival and I would drink. And when I drank, I used to buy shit food. And I would spend money on random bits of merch, fucking hoodies and rave glow sticks and all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden, that ticket to a festival that was £150 turns into like a £500 weekend. Because my behavior of going to the thing and all of the behaviors that then came from that were not good behaviors around the way that my finances were working. So actually, the thing I had to change was to stop putting myself in the places where it didn't work for me. Yeah. So being able to review that regularly, you'll start to recognize, do you know what the problem is? Every time I drink a bottle of wine, I get a kebab. Every time I get a kebab, I end up with going to the pub, and that pattern isn't working for me. And every time I do that, I also get up the next morning and I'm hungover. So I get McDonald's breakfast and a coffee, and that pattern is costing me money. Now, I'm just giving you an example, but there'll be patterns in your life that exist. And by doing this regular check-in, you'll recognize the patterns. And when you recognize the patterns, you've got the choice to change them or not. If you don't change them, nothing will change, right? That's up to you. I can only bring you to the water. I cannot make you drink it, as they say. So the last bit to finish on is just to remind you that when you do this and it works, you've got to celebrate. You really got to make sure that you'll put in your milestones and your celebrations of how you'll reward yourself against those milestones to really help you to stay focused and excited about the things that you're working towards. And, financial freedom when we're 70 isn't enough of a celebration to keep you motivated for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's just not. We've got to have these little wins, these little celebrations in between. So we talked about this in another live. So if you weren't on that live, go back and watch it. Feel excited about what you've got going on next. Feel excited about these next moves and go and make them confidently. It's going to be great. I've absolute faith in all of you. It's going to be brilliant. Those of you that are coming to Money Mechanics Live, those of you who haven't got your tickets yet, please don't forget to do it today, because you will not be able to get them at the price with the payment plan after midnight tonight. So it's switch at midnight. You deadline dancers, you hanging out to the very last second. I appreciate some of you have been at work today, and actually I've put you on a call at 5 o'clock. So you're probably going to do it after the call. For those of you that have booked on, obviously you guys will be upgraded. You'll get all the communication out next week. Don't worry if you've not had anything from us today. It's been a super busy day today, but we will get that all out for you next week. And yeah, I can't wait to see you all in March. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for the hard work that you've put in. One, to just make my week super fun, but also for yourselves. Give yourselves a little pat on the back. You've done a good job. And yeah, if there's no other questions, is there any other questions? Let me just give that a quick minute. We're like bang on time, which is rare for me as well, which I'm impressed by. Any other questions? No, I think we're set. I think we are set. Okay. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'll catch up with you all later. Have a great weekend and go off and become money mechanics. See you later. Bye.